I'm Jace Leigh Cobb, and you're listening to Masterpiece Studio. In the 3 years since James Herriot first stepped off the bus and arrived in the Dales, Skeldale House's veterinary practice has become a meticulously organized, well-oiled machine. Well, sort of.
James, have you... Siegfried! What's in there? God! Sorry, Mrs. Stokes. James!
It's in the middle of seatbelt.
Ladies! What are you... Oh, ladies, out of there!
James.
Come on, ladies, back you go. Back you go. No! Ladies!
No, they can't.
Yeah, no, sorry, that must be an oversight.
Come on, no.
Yeah, I'll make sure we pay it as soon as possible. Thank you.
It's a right mess in there.
No.
For some time now, the administrative side of the business has been slipping. And with Tristan gone, Siegfried and James have had their hands full tending to the animals of Derby and the surrounding countryside. Their days are filled to the brim with appointments, farm call-outs, and surgeries. Bookkeeping, wonky at the best of times, has fallen by the wayside. But not to worry, Siegfried has a plan.
Mr. Farnon.
Miss,
Harbottle.
Yes, of course. I'm so sorry. I've been wrestling goats.
They seem to have won.
Miss Harbottle and I met at the Farmers' Union dance last week.
The foxtrot.
Carpe diem.
You told me to call,
So I did.
so I'm here. To discuss your offer.
Siegfried eventually remembers that at the dance he asked Miss Harbottle to seize, well, if not the day, then at least the administrative tasks for the practice and get things back in order.
You need someone to take over the administrative burden, leaving you free to concentrate on your veterinary work.
Miss Harbottle, I couldn't have said it better myself.
I think that was what you said. And what I said was...
Bringing order to chaos is my speciality.
But will this new arrangement work out? Actor Neve McIntosh shares what makes the severe and orderly Miss Harbottle tick, her would-be romance with Siegfried Farnon, and what her long-term visions are for Skeldale House. And this week we are joined by All Creatures Great and Small star Neve McIntosh. Welcome.
Hi there.
So your character, Miss Harbottle's, introduced in episode 2.
Yes.
And her introduction, it sets her up as a creature of order and, we'll say, severity, perhaps, amid the chaos of the practice. We've got goats running around and jumping on things. Siegfried and James are at each other's throats. What did you make of that first scene as an initial introduction for Miss Harbottle?
It was quite crazy. You suddenly sort of catapulted into this crazy scene. Yes, they've got the goats and everything. All the animals have got to be set first, and then they bring the humans in, or the other animals. But you just got to be sort of patient, wait for you a little bit, and then get your lines out in the right order. But yeah, it was lovely. I loved the dogs actually running around. They were my favourite.
I mean, it's clear that there is a history between Miss Harbottle and Siegfried, the foxtrot, and inside reference to Carpe Diem. She gets described in Helen Rayner's fantastic script as, quote, attractive with an air of authority, though we're never given her first name even. I mean, how did you work to construct the character? What makes her tick?
I suppose it's, she thinks that she's going to save Siegfried, she's tipping her hat at him. There's definitely she's on the market, shall we say, and so is he. And I think she thinks that this is going to be one of the way that she's going to be indispensable to him. She's going to wave her magic wand like a fairy godmother, make everything fine, and he'll fall in love with her and ride off into the sunset on a tractor. So I think, that's kind of where I started. But she's quite full of herself. So, yeah. It was good to get some of the humour out of especially in the script and some of the stuff there.
All Creatures Great and Small will often feature a character for a particular storyline, but this is, to my mind anyway, the first time an entire episode has revolved entirely around a new character. What was it like coming into All Creatures this far into the run, but having an entire episode focus on your character?
All on me. I love it. It's all about me, love. It's lovely because someone's like going, oh great, who should we get, and is Neve interested? So and you go up for that sort of thing. It's really lovely actually, because you want something as well to really get your teeth into. Well, I do anyway when I'm working. You want to get something to work on. So yeah, they're such a well-oiled machine as well, that when you come into it, you sort of picked up and gathered into their sort of speed and their way of moving, which is great. And everyone's so lovely to help you do that, because it's a bit daunting. You know, they've all been working together for so long. They're so close. And yeah, you turn up going, oh, excuse me, but this one's all about me, thanks. Yeah, they were really sweet about it and very helpful and generous. So yeah, you just got to dive in.
So, I mean, given that you're stepping into this cast 4 seasons in, as you say, that they're very welcoming, but what was the cast like in terms of sort of welcoming you to All Creatures?
Oh, just fantastic. Just really lovely. So helpful. I now have a chili plant, thanks to Sam West.
Oh,
He'd been potting out seeds and stuff. I got a little seedling and it's still going strong. I got one really good sized chili off of it. So I need to bring that in for the winter. So I've still got chilies next year.
make a curry, maybe.
Yeah. No, but everyone was just gorgeous. And there was actually people around that I'd worked with before, like Andy, the director. So that helps as well. It's a great sort of family feeling. All the crew, all the cast. And there was opportunities for us to go out for dinners and go to the theatre together and see some stuff, as well as great tips that if you wanted to go walking in the Dales, everyone has a sort of favourite walk, which I thought was really lovely. So I didn't get half of them done. Everyone was like, oh yeah, you should go there and try that. And I was like, yeah, I've got one weekend. I'll have worn my feet down to stumps by the end of it. But no, just absolutely lovely.
So I want to take a step back. But growing up in Scotland, how familiar were you with All Creatures Great and Small ahead of time, the television series and Alf White's James Herriot books?
Very, very. They were regular reading in my house. I think I read all of them after my parents had got them. They were just always there. The programme was a regular. Can't remember. It must have been like a Sunday night, I think, in the original one. Well, the first one. So, yeah, very.
And then I have to ask, because is it true, Neve, that you perhaps wanted to become a vet because of All Creatures Great and Small?
It is. It really is. Yeah, I think there must have been most of my generation possibly growing up. But I've always been horse daft, and I was working with horses, or going into help work with horses at stables and stuff. And yeah, and I kept thinking that, daydreaming that I could, be a horse doctor, big animal doctor. But I was so rubbish at biology. I couldn't go near any creature with a scalpel. So that kind of put those dreams to bed.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah.
Miss Harbottle is brought in as a bookkeeper to whip the disorderly Skeldale House into shape, or at least that's what she claims, as Siegfried seems to harbor no memory of having hired her. I mean, what does she make of Skeldale House with its rats and its animals and petty cash in a jug?
She hates it. It's anathema to her. She's just like, everything has to be so orderly. She's obviously, what we call OCD now. She's obviously got an edge of that, but everything, everything has to be right and in its right place. And that was a lot of fun doing that, because, just getting used to the fact of every tiny little thing. Some of that are not even caught on camera, just straightening pencils and doing little things like that, which was quite fun to do.
I mean, she means well, though, but her methods sort of instantly clash with how Siegfried and James run the practice. And she's all modern efficiencies, and they're all about these very traditional relationships with farmers. I mean, does she go into this, we'll call it maybe a devil's pact, believing that she can actually transform this place into a model of efficiency?
I think she does. I think she believes that anything is possible for her, you see. And I think she believes that it's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be that hard, surely. Then, of course, reality hits her like a frying pan in her face. So, yeah, she's also, there's another reason underneath. She could see herself being, the woman of Skeldale House. She wanted to basically be the Mrs. Siegfried Farnon of it, and the lady of the house. But, she gets her rude awakening.
But, I mean, there is a palpable chemistry between Miss Harbottle and Siegfried.
Yes!
One that genuinely surprised James and Helen, and also genuinely surprised me, because it was there. And I did wonder whether her presence here is more to do with that chemistry and the sort of foxtrotting Siegfried than her want for this position, and whether she's there due to finance or she's there due to romance.
Oh, I think she's there for romance. I think she's a romantic at heart. There is a kindness about her, but she just doesn't really understand where she fits into the reality of the world. She thinks that she's going to be swept off her feet and she's going to do all the right things for Siegfried, and that means that's it. You'll fall in love and ask her to marry him. But as we know, that's not the real world. She's still a dreamer. It's all frocks and gaiety and dances and things like that, especially with the backdrop of the Second World War encroaching. And, I think there's a lot to do with that.
She's looking to hunker down.
She wants a place of safety as well.
You said earlier, I mean, these animals are sort of anathema to her. She loathes animals. She physically recoils in the presence of the goats. She finds Volanel utterly detestable. I mean, what did she think she was going to encounter working in a veterinary in practice?
I have no idea. Well, this is, I think, it feeds into the fact that she would slowly maybe edge them out once she had got her claws into Siegfried. But I have no idea what she thought she was getting herself into, because she said it's like a feed merchant. So maybe she just thought that they would go out to the animals rather than bringing the animals in. But that was quite hard, actually, because I am an animal lover. I went round and cuddled all the animals that I could get my hands on afterwards, because I'd been quite mean to them.
I mean, you're quite cruel to Volanel, I have to say.
It's horrible.
How was Volanel the rat as a scene partner?
Oh, brilliant. I mean, because there was one scene, and Sam's got her out. And of course, we just had to be so still and so patient, because obviously continuity, and he's got a rat running around his head and across his chest. And he was obviously brilliant. He works a lot, very, very closely with Volanel. So it was gorgeous. But I stuck my finger at her one day and she nipped me. So I was like, okay. It's method. It's all method, love.
Very method.
So,
very method.
Yeah, she's very into the method. Obviously a lot of hatred for Miss Harbottle.
I mean, she has a knack for interrupting Siegfried at just the right moment, or changing the subject at just the right moment.
Yeah.
Do you see this as an intentional tactic on her part, or is that just who she is?
I think in a sense it's just who she is. She's very used to being in charge and controlling. So it's hard, isn't it? Because you don't want her to then feel scheming if you're saying that's that. But I think she just knows, in a sense, how to manage men in a way. I think there's an element of that within her. I think she gets her own way and she just talks over folk, because she knows better than anyone else, of course.
I mean, she's also a professional woman at a time when there weren't a lot of professional women operating in very much a man's world, and she would have to be perhaps more assertive to have her voice heard.
Yeah, well, exactly. That was one of the things we discussed, Andy and I discussed about her, is that, women get a bad rap sometimes when we do stand up for ourselves, and she definitely is someone who's just learned how to get... It's not that she's getting what she wants, she's getting what she knows is best for everyone. And you've got to be a bit brusque, and you've got to have the courage of your convictions to go, actually, no, this is the way it should be done. And she's definitely got that. It must be very difficult in those days. It makes me think my mum, even in the 60s, my mum had seen an advert for a job in the newspaper and it said men only. My mum went, aye, that'll be right. I can do that. And to their credit and hers, she went up for it. She got interviewed and she got the job, because she was like, I'm not going to let anyone tell me I can't do something just because I'm a woman. Nah. So I had that sort of inspiration.
Wow, that's amazing. The Skeldale House is a particular favorite of the cast, partially because of the way it's built. It seems designed for French farce. What was it like being on the Skeldale set, and what sort of direction did Andy Hay, with whom you'd previously worked, give you in terms of moving through that physical space?
Well, because it's just set out perfectly like a proper house, so it's very simple. It's what's really clever about it is where they have windows and slight overlapping ways of putting cameras to shoot through, so that you can get a great continuous shot without a lot of, resets. And I mean, they've even got, that big built the garden, and it's fantastic what they've built, what they've made for it.
I mean, I want to live in that house.
I know, it's gorgeous. It's just such a shame that beautiful sweeping staircase doesn't
anywhere.
Go anywhere. Spoilers. Whoops. Yeah, there's a bit of a balcony bit up above, but that's kind of it.
Bringing order to chaos is Miss Harbottle's specialty, and she's not wrong about the practice in a general sense.
Oh, no.
It's poorly managed and things are indeed shambolic, as she says.
Yeah.
But she's also completely out of touch with why certain things are run the way that they are, not charging for appointments for a start. Why do you think she's missing these key insights?
Much as I love her, I think she lacks, what would be the word, a bit of compassion. You know, that it's not all about cold, hard cash. That's not really what efficiency needs to be at times. You know, we get bogged down. But maybe that's just the way that she's been taught with her previous jobs, that everything will work that way. It's a shame, isn't it? She doesn't get it. She really doesn't get it. Because it's just so contrary to her idea of everything being shipshape and everything running properly.
I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, Skeldale House is a business. They need money to operate. They can't really be paid in jam or honey or sausages or crates of beer.
Oh, even though they are.
Even though that's what they're getting their payment in.
Which, yeah, I'd do that.
That'd be great. I mean, sausages, fantastic. Jam, honey, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Yeah, beer, yeah.
Beer, yeah. Does she see this as a business that's then maybe stuck in the past? Or does she fail to see the service that they're providing to a farming community that maybe doesn't have cash on hand?
I think the second, definitely. She doesn't understand that they don't have money. She doesn't realize that this is barter is more of a way. You know, it's that sort of, it's like when city folk come out into the countryside and they go, oh, really? That's where eggs come from? Do you know what I mean? There's a little bit of it about like that.
Before this next question, a brief word from our sponsors. Ocean voyages, expeditions, river journeys. Viking is dedicated to bringing travelers closer to the destination, offering a small ship experience and a shore excursion in every port. Learn more at Viking.com. She makes a bad situation worse when she turns away Joe over his lack of inclination to pay for an appointment for his ferret in cash rather than in dead rabbits. I'm curious, what is behind her revulsion to Joe and to animals in general? Is it that they're unpredictable, disorderly, and, well, chaotic?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they're a bit chaotic, a bit smelly, dirty. You know, I think there's a bit of that. And with Joe as well, sadly, horrible thing to say. She's a horrible snooty cow for that aspect. So yes, I think it's just, you know, if you don't have money and a ferret, who takes a ferret to a vet? I think she thinks maybe that a vet's all, you know, nice pretty ponies and pretty puppies and dogs and kitty cats or something, you know, not actual, you know, working animals like goats. And yeah, I wonder what she would be like out in wellies in a field. She'd just scream, I think.
She's utterly charmed by Siegfried, if horrified by the way that the practice is being run. But she and James bond ever so slightly over the fact that they're both Scottish here in the north of England. That initial calm with Jim descends into an argument over Joe and the appointment book.
In veterinary practice, the animal comes first. Always.
In my book, obedience to rules is the mother of all success.
Is this her Achilles heel, this need to obey every rule?
I think so, definitely, because that's where she gets her whole idea of structure and order, because that's obeying the rules and this is the way it should be. But also the fact that, I mean, he makes a very good point that is a rule that should be followed, but she can't quite move that into her rule book yet. And Mr. Herriot's quite right. She doesn't like that. He puts her right in her place and she doesn't like it at all.
She catches Siegfried and James performing an operation on the ferret, which she believes undermined her authority.
You went behind my back. Mr. Farnon, you have undermined my authority.
An authority I should never have surrendered.
You, I am sorry to say, Mr. Farnon, are disorganized, erratic, and irresponsible.
And you are ignoring the fact that we are vets. We put animals before profit. Your ambition and talent are unquestioned, Miss Harbottle. But this is not a place for you. I'm afraid I'll have to let you go.
You can't sack me, Mr. Farnon.
Why not?
Because I resign.
I see.
Perhaps we should have left it at the Foxtrot.
What do you make of the way she handles this here? Is it with sadness or with her dignity intact? How do you view this?
Well, what I was trying to do in the scene was muster as much dignity, but without, anyone having sympathy for her, because she was quite awful at times. So yes, it's that someone mustering their dignity, but also, it's the nicest way to sort of leave it between her and Siegfried so that neither of them lose face on it, in a sense. So there's a wee bit of grace in her bowing out there, which is kind of nice that, you can see that there's a bit of humanity in there. I think she musters what dignity she has and moves on, cuts her losses.
If you were to give Miss Harbottle a first name, what would it be?
Well, we did discuss her first name. We were thinking about like a May, May, May Harbottle. And I said it'd be funny if she was, because it was quite a popular name back in the day in Scotland, which was Euphemia. Because I used to have, one of my aunties was a Euphemia, but she was always called Auntie Effie. And I did wonder, but I think she's probably got just a nice, very simple, like May, or I can't remember the one, because I thought that Andy came up with a name that I thought was great.
I want to think of her as sort of a Constance, or
that's quite sexy though. Do you think?
Constance Harbottle.
Oh, that's got a nice ring to it though as well.
You might be one of the few guests on Masterpiece Studio who can say they have an action figure in their likeness. Granted, you sat for 3 hours at a time to be made up as Madame Vostra on Doctor Who, but what was the experience of filming Who Like for you, and what is it like to have an action figure of yourself?
It's so cool. It's so cool. I can't tell you, because I'm the generation, of Star Wars and all the action figures that we used to collect and play with in the 70s and into the 80s. So I did the dweebiest thing. As soon as I knew that my figure was out, I went straight to the chain here, Forbidden Planet. Do you know it?
Mm-hmm, of course.
Yeah. Do you have? Is it the same in America? I don't know. But
not anymore now, sadly. But I've been to the Forbidden Planet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just went in because it's great. It's a great place. Well, I just went to buy myself as a lizard. And it was great. And of course, I'm just handing it over to the guy, smiling, because he had no idea who I was, wondering who this mental bonkers woman is, just grinning inanely at him. And then, I was like, oh, I didn't get noticed. He didn't recognize me, but that doesn't matter. It was so cool. And there's a little pop vinyl of me.
Oh.
I've got it's a little mini pop vinyl. And also I'm in one of the Lego games. So there's a digital Lego Madame Vostra as well. Yeah. I love it. And it's stuff like that. It's right up my street. Me and my brother, complete sci-fi geeks growing up.
I mean, as an actor, you are extremely prolific. You're appearing in television and films, on stage, in video games like Diablo 4, audiobooks, audio drama. I mean, you're in voice work for Road Safety Scotland.
Yeah.
You're everywhere. I mean, when you're not working, what is it you're doing? I hear that you're a keen scuba diver. Is that true?
When I'm away traveling, yes, I like to go diving. I love getting in the water and making bubbles, as they say. This past year, I've not been able to get away. So, and I'm busy now until next spring. So I'll have to start planning another trip somewhere else to go. But I love it. Do you do anything like that? Do you try it?
I've snorkeled in the Great Barrier Reef. I've never
That's cool, though.
I've never actually done scuba diving though. I'm too frightened to go down that deep.
That's fair enough.
I've got a crazy question for you now.
Oh God, go on.
Yeah. So as someone who has read a lot of ad copy, I'm wondering, how would you approach a radio ad for Skeldale House if it were real? What sort of voice would you try to use to sell the practice?
Oh gosh. So not Miss Harbottle. No, she wouldn't be able to say what sort. I don't know. Welcome to Skeldale House. The Dales. I don't know. Would it be more whisper? Here in the heart of the Dales. Something like that.
Oh.
Because it wouldn't be, here, Skeldale House, in the Dales, come, get it, get your bed on. Yeah. I think it would have to be the more wistful.
Yeah, no, the other is like an Irvin Welsh,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
Choose a job, choose a vet, choose a career. Choose a dog.
Little train spotting humor.
Yes. Little reference
Yeah,
there.
little reference. So you said you're busy. Final question. What's next for you? What's on tap?
What is on tap? Well, I'm going to be in the theatre again. There is a fantastic play being put on in London called The Enfield Haunting, starring Catherine Tate, another Doctor Who connection,
Mm-hmm.
and David Threlfall, who, I don't know if you know him from Shameless over here. Awesome.
Yes, the original Frank.
Yeah, the original Frank Gallagher. He's absolutely fantastic as well. And with some great new faces playing the children in it. And I turn up at the end. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to doing some theatre again. It'll be really lovely. I play David's wife in the piece, and it's based on true events that happened in North London in this house in Enfield where they thought they had a poltergeist. So yeah, so we're on in the West End in London until, so I'll be busy right through to the spring, which will be nice. It's very nice to be busy over Christmas.
That sounds exciting and a bit scary.
Yeah,
spooky.
Some of it, I don't know. No spoilers. Yeah, some of it's very, very spooky.
Neve McIntosh, thank you so very much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much.
Next time, we travel back to Victorian-era London and join intrepid private detective Eliza Scarlett and Detective Inspector William Wellington in Season 4 of Miss Scarlet and the Duke.
Everyone has a different opinion of my visits with you. Ivy believes I should just sit and talk to you as if nothing's happened. Detective Fitzroy suggested reading aloud from a Russian novel, the title of which I cannot pronounce. I suppose it might provoke you into sitting up and begging me to stop. And Mr. Potts was surprisingly thoughtful. He advised that as you are a man who despises a lot of chatter, that I should merely sit with you. That would be company enough.
Join us next Sunday as we sit down with writers and spouses, Rachel New and Ben Edwards, to discuss this new season. Masterpiece Studio is hosted by me, Jace Lacob, produced by Jack Pombriant, and edited by Robin Bissett. Paul Stevens is our sound designer. The executive producer for Masterpiece is Suzanne Simpson.